This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shalom Aleichem, good morning. Welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime. I want to dedicate the shir for the Atzlacha Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family, and Refuah Shelema, Chai Meir Dov Ben Yente, and Yaakov Ben Bela Besoch Sh'ar Choilei Yisrael. Mitzvah Hashem will speak about Parshas Vayeshev and Chanukah, some exciting and fascinating insights and revelations in Mitzvah Hashem. So Yosef has some dreams. A few weeks ago we spoke about dreams. We brought some remarkable svarim that were written based on dreams, or Piskei Halacha that were mischadesh in dreams. Just want to add to that a few more things. There's a Sefer Kadmon by Rabbi Avraham, the Talmid of the Arizal, called Galia Raza, where he reveals to us all kinds of secrets. And he says over there, Rashi brings, Vayimtsaehu ish, who is this person that met Yosef? Who was it? Malach Gavriel. So Galia Raza says, Malach Gavriel is the one who's in charge of dreams. And once he met Yosef, he accompanied him all the time. He was the one in charge of the dreams of the butler and the baker, and the dreams of Paro as well. And Galia Raza is numerical value 252, because Gavriel is 246, but Gavriel is 6 letters, so you add the letters to the 246, and Gavriel is Galia Raza because he reveals the secrets. So when the brothers saw Yosef, they said, Hine Bala Chaloimos. What does that mean? We always thought the one who has the dreams is Yosef. That's not what you meant. Since Gavriel always accompanied him from that time when he met him, so then when they pointed, they said, oh, here's the Bala Chaloimos. They weren't talking about Yosef. They're talking about the Malach who's accompanying him, and that's Gavriel. Halazev Ba, the one who is accompanying him. The Torah Mamish says so. Sefer called Ma'im Yechezkel. The Alvei Nachal brings him. So he's a Kadmon as well. He brings, based on the Zohar, there is a dream that the Malach Michael is responsible for. And if you have a dream that Michael gave you, that's not something that's going to be immediately fulfilled. Yosef had a dream, but that dream was by Michael, and that's why it took 22 years to be fulfilled.
Who was it that happened?
Michael, if Michael has a dream, it makes you have a dream, that's going to take a long time to be fulfilled. But the entire dream will be fulfilled. There's no vain things in that dream. There's another dream that comes by the Malach Gavriel. As we said, he's the one in charge normally for the dreams. That thing will be fulfilled immediately, or in a very close time to the time that the person had the dream, but not everything within that dream will be fulfilled. What does the Kodesh Baruch Hu do if he wants two things? He wants the dream to be fulfilled immediately and the entire dream. So then the person has to dream once by Michael, and the dream should be repeated by Gavriel, and that's why Parshas Mikes, what does the Torah say about the dreams of Paroi? Ve'al hishanu sachalom. Why? Twice. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted to happen immediately, and that the entire dream will be fulfilled. Shaus Shuvus Min HaShamayim. And that is one of Balei HaTosis, Rabbi Yaakov Mimoish. And the whole Sefer, not a big Sefer, but the whole Sefer is based on what was revealed to him from Shamayim. Shaus Shuvus Meshivas Nefesh, Maral Tzintz. He is dealing with a very Sugya Chamura, Aguna. There's nothing more chamur than Aguna to be matir and eshes ish lashuk. And he basically wants to be matir this Aguna based on a dream. There was a person who was, he disappeared. The husband disappeared, and they didn't know what to do, how to find him. But he appeared to a dream to his mother and to another woman. And he told them exactly where he is. And based on the simanim, they didn't find him, because the body was already decomposed. They found some simanim that he said, and based on that, they added it to another heter. And based on this, they were matir this woman as a naguna. Shalshus Maral Tzins, again, Simen Lamed Hey, he tells us a story about 3 people in a little boat, fishermen, and there was a storm. The boat turned over, they all disappeared. They found 2 bodies, and they allowed, obviously, their wives to be remarried. But the 3rd guy, he disappeared. We don't know where he is. But, and when a person disappears in what's called Mayim she'en lahem sof, it's not a closed body of water. We don't see the end of the water. We can't allow it because maybe something happened. Maybe somehow he got to the other side and he starts a new life somewhere. Maybe he's sold into a slave. Maybe he has a lot of debts and he just want to get rid of his wife. Who knows? So Mayim she'en lahem sof, we cannot allow a person. So based on this, we have a problem. But this 3rd person who disappeared came in a dream and said that he drowned in this specific location, but he's stuck, his body is stuck between the boat and a rock, so he couldn't get out like his other friends. That's why he's there. So they went to that specific location based on the simanim. They didn't find his body, but they found his clothing. And based on that, basically they wanted to allow this aguna. Even we know that al pi ed echad, you can allow an aguna, but a dream is not exactly an ed echad. And yet, so you have to assume there were a few other details that we are missing, but you see the unbelievable koyach the Maharal Tzins has to use a dream to allow an eshes ish. Another fascinating thing is the Ozahua. Ozahua is one of the Rishonim. Why did he call his sefer Ozahua? He had a question. He wasn't sure how do you write the name Akiva in a get. Is it really with a hey at the end? Ayin Kuf Yud Beis Hey, or maybe with an Aleph at the end. He wasn't sure. He went to sleep at night. They showed him a pasuk. O Zaruah LaTzadik Uleishrei Leiv Simcha. Soifet Tevos, the last letter in each of these words spells out Akiva with a hey. Mamish Metzia from Shamayim. He was so happy. Or Zaruah is Ayin. LaTzadik is Kuf. Uleishrei is Yud, Leiv is Beis, Simcha is Hey, Akiva. He was so excited about this Metzia, he decided to call his Sefer Ozahua, based on this revelation. In a get. That's what the Ozahua writes. Tremendous Chiddush. We said 2 years ago, some of you all remember, let's ask it a different way. Last year, Simchas Torah, when some of the people down south were kidnapped to Gaza, one of them says, he was released afterwards, one of them says that on the way in the car, one of his kidnappers, the Hamasnik, Yemach Shemo, says to him, do you like Avram Fried? You like his music? He said, yes, very much. So he put on Avram Fried for 5 minutes. Said, you like Mordechai ben David? He said, yeah, I love him. So for the next 5 minutes, he had another song for Mordechai ben David. Do you think it made any difference to this person on the way to Gaza, whether he's listening to Avram Fried or Mordechai ben David or Shreki or anybody else? No. So who cares that Yosef has some good smelling agents on the way down to Gaza? He's down to Egypt. He's going to be sold as a slave. He's in an interrogation room of the Hezbollah. But nice spray, perfume. Maybe I can hang out here with you guys. It's so nice here. Who cares? So if you remember, we said 9 different ways to solve it. Today, 4 more. First of all, the Apirion. The Apirion says, who cares? The Pasuk says, Ugemalehem noisim, the camels were carrying these great smelly things, and therefore Rashi says, normally these Arabs carry things which are not so pleasant. But now Kodesh Baruch Hu made a nest. Who cares? So the Apirion says it wasn't for Yosef. Apirion is of Shlomo Gansfried, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. He says it wasn't for Yosef. It was for Yudah. Yudah wasn't sure if it's a good idea what he did. We sold our brother to, who knows what's going to happen in Egypt. But now that he saw a sign from Shamayim that even though normally it's not going to be a pleasant ride, it's going to be a great ride. So good. Gishmak is smell. He knew it's sign from Shamayim, we're doing the right thing. But we're back to understanding how it's going to benefit Yosef. By Chassidim, everything is about the neshama. Singing, dancing, verbringen. Gemara in Brachos, Mem Gimel Amud Beis says, Ezehu davar she'haneshama nehenes mimeno. What is the one thing the neshama actually gets a pleasure from is? Reach, smell. That's why Motzei Shabbos, we smell Besamim. Because you got rid of one neshama, and the neshama Yisrael left, and the neshama that stays is like, oh, feels so heavy. How do you revive your soul? You give it something good to smell. The message from Shamayim to Yosef is, Yosef, they can torture you. Ooh, what they can do to you. To your body, but they can't touch your neshama. Your neshama is always pure. Your neshama is always clean. Your neshama always smells great. They can't touch your neshama. And you better make sure, Yosef, that even though you're going to Mitzrayim, you guard your neshama. And that's the message in the Besamim. But the Tells had a different way. The Tells is all about machshava. And Tells they were no shiurei musa. They had shiurei machshava, to analyze everything, every action you take, everything that you think about, how does it work. Mordechai Pomegansky, he explained, there are two people who stab a person with a knife. One is a murderer, and one is the doctor. What's the difference? Both are holding a knife, and they're cutting a human being. So what's the difference? The difference is the knife clean or not? Did you ever hear of a murderer after stabbing the first person? Well, wait a second, I got to disinfect the knife. Hold on 1 second before I stab the next person. Hold a second. He takes the alcohol, he disinfects the knife. He doesn't care. The doctor is on a mission. He's about to help the person. He wants to heal the person, so he obviously is going to make sure that the knife is clean. In other words, a surgery is sometimes essential, but it's beneficial. It's a tikkun, it's a rectification. It helps you. After the surgery, you actually go to the doctor who cut you up and say, thank you very much, doctor. Thank you, I really appreciate that. Yosef is now taken down to Mitzrayim, and he's wondering, does this mean this is the end? I'm expelled like Yishmael Le'avdil was expelled? And then it's going to be, everything is going to be terrible, including the smell. But if this mission that I'm going on, this process going down to be a slave is just a part of something else, bigger than me, a tikkun, not just for me, for the whole nation, I got to have some kind of a message from Shamayim. And that's the Besamim. Yes, you're going to be sold as a slave down to Mitzrayim, but you should know, it's like a knife, but the knife held by the surgeon, the ultimate surgeon who's coming to heal you and coming to do a tikkun for you and for the entire world. And that's why the Besamim tell him the knife is clean, don't worry. Great. What does it do with us? What's the third thing? How does that help us? We have to grab on, to chap, whatever we can. Another mitzvah, another bracha, another 2 minutes of learning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu hints to Yosef. Everything looks terrible. Mamish terrible. The future looks so bleak. I'm going down to Egypt. Who knows if I'll ever see my family again. I'm going to be sold to a slave. It's true. It's true. But wait a second. You have some besamim? If they're worthy of a bracha, say a bracha. Stop looking only at the negative and say, so that's it. It's finished. Life is over. You have something good within something bad. Concentrate on that. Focus on that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always with you. Chap, one more thing. 2 more, but I can't right now. I'm not concentrating. So take whatever you can. Another bracha, another mitzvah, another 2 minutes of learning, whatever it is. That's the message in the tiny little thing. Besamim, on the way to Mitzrayim. But focus on what you do have and don't focus on what you don't have. So there's Shivim Panim LaTorah. 70 different interpretations that can be in the Torah. We just exposed 12 of them. 9 last time and 3 today. Now it's your responsibility to come up with the other 57. All his sons and all his daughters, Yaakov Avinu, sought to comfort him, but he refused to be consoled. Vayemayin leisnachem. Why is that? Yaakov Avinu doesn't know Medrash? Bereshis Rabbah, Parashat Nun Aleph Ois Gimel. Ein davar ra yored milmala. There's nothing bad that comes from above. You don't understand that's the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Brachos Dafei Amud Beis. Rabbi Yochanan lost 10 of his children. And he kept a tiny little bone of the 10th son, and that's what he used to go to a mourner's house to try and give them comfort. Look, I lost 10 of my boys. I moved on. Life continues. So you want to tell me Yaakov Avinu doesn't know what Rabbi Yochanan knows? Isn't Yaakov Avinu a little greater than Rabbi Yochanan? He doesn't know Medrash Rabbah and Davara Yored Milmala. More than that. Agdama Lamedvav Mshara Gilgulim. The Arizal revealed to us that Rabbi Akiva is a Gilgul of Yaakov Avinu.
Rabbi Akiva is the one who taught us in Brachos Samech Amud Beis, le'olam, always should a person say, Adam Ragi Loimar, Kol de'avid rachmana letav avid, everything is good. So you don't know that, Yaakov Avinu? Who's the Rebbe of Rabbi Akiva? Chagiga Yud Beis. Nachum Ish Gamzu. What's his claim to fame? Nun Gamzu L'toiva. So you don't know that, Yaakov Avinu? This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted. Why are you going against, as if, Ribbon Shloim's will? No, I refuse to accept it. What do you mean you refuse to accept it? Maybe. A few different ways. Rashi, in Perek Lamed Zayin, Pasuk Lamed Hei, brings from the Tanchuma in Vayigash, Siman Yud. Yaakov Avinu had a simin mipi ha'gvura. Not a baskol from Shemayim. It's a higher level. HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself said to Yaakov Avinu, should know, if you have all your 12 sons, none of them will die in your lifetime, you're going, greatest place ever. But if Khalila, you don't have 12 tribes that you're responsible to bring into this world, which means the entire nation, you should know you're going down. So when Yaakov Avinu saw that Yosef disappeared, he wasn't mourning his own loss. It's not a private loss. It's a loss of Klal Yisrael. I obviously did something wrong to destroy the nation. The nation's going to be missing a whole tribe. That's why he refused to be consoled. Not about his private loss. Private loss, of course. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from me. But it means that I was putting him in the 12 Shvatim. Or maybe in a different way. The Gur Aryeh writes, Gur Aryeh Ma'aral, and similarly, many Rishonim write, the Chizkuni, Rabbeinu Chaim Paltiel, who is a Talmid Chover to the Maharam Yerutenberg, Hadar Zkenim al HaTorah, that's Baalei HaTosfos, and the Riva from Baalei HaTosfos, and the Rosh, and the Bartenua brings this in the name of the Medrash, that Yaakov Avinu, when he was accompanying Yosef on his mission, he actually started walking with him to Hebron, and Yosef kept telling him, Daddy, go back home. It's not right. You're my father. You need to burden. Go back home. And Yaakov Avinu says to him, no, don't you know the mitzvah of accompanying a guest, accompanying a person, going with him, it's very important. And if you don't do that, it's as if you're spilling blood. We learned the Gemara in Soita, Memei Amud Beis. The elders, if there's a person who was found dead between two cities, they do the Egla Arufa, and the elders have to wash their hands and say, as if our hands didn't spill blood. And the Gemara says, would we think that the Talmidei Chachamim, the Tzaddikim, the elders, they killed this person? No. What it means is they didn't come here and we didn't accompany, because if you don't accompany a person, it's as if you're killing him. Comes out. When the brothers come back to Yosef and they show him the sweater, look, it's all full of blood. When the brothers come back to Yaakov, and they show him the sweater, and it's full of blood because a wild animal, as Yaakov says, Tarov Toraf Yosef, Hayara Achalas, Oi. Meaning, I didn't do the mitzvah as I was supposed to. If I would have done the mitzvah of the Levaya accompanying Yosef as I was supposed to, maybe I didn't have the right kavana. Mitzvah slichos kavana. It's not going to have the segula of the shmira if you don't do it right. That's why Yaakov Avinu was so upset. And if you'll say, yeah, but he knows that he does everything 100% full of kavana, fine. But maybe I sent him to makom sakana. And if you do, Yuma, Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, we learn, in a makom sakana, and a place which is Kviya Hezeka, yeah, you're endangering somebody else. In fact, there's a unbelievable Noida B'Yehuda, that I think last year at one point we discussed. The Noida B'Yehuda says, if you send someone on a mission, you ask a cab driver to deliver something for you, drive from here to Yerushalayim. He starts driving on the way, a car accident. It has nothing to do with you. Either he doesn't know how to drive or the person who hit him. Yet, the person who sent the driver has responsibility. He's not going to go to prison for that. He's not going to kill him. But he has some kind of a responsibility. And the Noida B'Yehuda suggests all kinds of ways to do a tshuva for that. So Yaakov Avinu says, maybe I send him to a makom sakana. If I send him to a makom sakana, it's because of me. It comes out that Yaakov Avinu, throughout his whole life, accepted all kinds of yisurim. Esav, his brother, pursued him. Lavan, what Lavan did to him. Shem took Dinah. And he had so many tzaros and yisurim. But this is different. Because this is something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does to me. All these tzaros. This is something that I did to myself. I did to Yosef. And he was refusing to be consoled because he was still working on himself because he figured maybe I didn't complete the process of tshuva. It's not that he's not accepting din shamayim, chas v'sholom, but he is still working on himself to complete the rectification to do tshuva.
But if that was not the will of Hashem, even if he sends him a sakana, nothing would happen to him.
That works well with the Or Chaim HaKodesh, who says that people are baalei bchira. Or Chaim HaKodesh says exactly the opposite of what we normally understand. So if a baal bchira wants to harm you, says Or Chaim HaKodesh, he can.
So we're not doing it.
But Yaakov Avinu, as if doesn't know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu conceals from him that there's a big plan here. He thinks I did something wrong. And there's no protection when you don't accompany a person and when you send him to a dangerous place. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, yeah, don't worry, I'm preparing the Geula, I'm preparing Klal Yisrael. But Yaakov Avinu only looks at his side, I did something wrong. For that something wrong, I got to do tshuva. Lamed Ches Chaf Aleph, 38:21. Vayishal es anshe mekoyma lemoir. And he asked, who's asking? Vayishal es anshe mekoyma lemoir. Who's asking? Yehuda. Ayah kedei shehi ba'einayim al hadarech. What is he asking? Where is that woman? Comes at Tiferes Shloim and says, that's not what he's asking. He's telling us something. He's not asking anything. Vayomer. Ayeh HaKedesha. Don't read it Ayeh HaKedesha. Ayeh HaKedusha. Where can one find sanctity? How does one elevate in levels of Kedusha? He ba'einayim. It's all about Shbiras ha'einayim. One who wants to move up on the ladder, going close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, growing, climbing. Ayah Kedusha. Where do you find Kedusha? He ba'einayim. That's all about Shmiras ha'einayim. Maybe we can add to what he says. The Torah also says to us, where? Oh, you're asking where? He ba'einayim, but where? Al hadarech. As soon as you leave your house, that's when it starts. When you travel, as soon as you leave the house. And maybe derech also means derech hagav, which means even in your house, especially in our generation. It just presents itself to you. It's just there. Ayeh HaKedusha, if one wants to find Kedusha, he ba'einayim, he protects his eyes, he guards his eyes, ala derech, even if when he's traveling or even when he is home, ala derech, when it just so happens to be that it's just there. And if we didn't understand it, there's another Gemara. Tanis Daf Ches Amud Beis, but Metzia Mem Beis Amud Aleph. Everybody knows this Gemara. En habracha metzuya ela bedavar hasamui min ha'ayin. Where can you find bracha? When something is concealed from the eye. When something is concealed from the eye, when you don't look at what you need to look, then you're going to find a bracha. And if we still don't understand, the Gemara repeats itself in a different formulation. En habracha metzuya ela bedavar she'en ha'ayin sholetes bo. Who says the eye has to be ruling over everything? We have to be the ones ruling over our eyes. And then we have what? Parshas Vayeshev, the riddle of the week. A birthday is mentioned. Birthday in our Parsha. Birthday of Paro. So let's ask something else about Paro. Where in the Torah, 5 Chumashim, is it mentioned that Paro had a son? And on what day did he have this boy? We know his birthday. Fine. Other trivia information about Paro. When and where did he have his son? 5 Chumashim. And it's not in Dvarim. 5 Chumashim. And it's not in Bamidbar. And it's not in Vayikra. What's that? What does it say? He had a son, and on what day, I want to know? Do you know when he had this boy? I want to know on what day he had this boy. The surprising answer is in Parshas Vayeshev. In the pasuk I just read. Vahi bayom hashlishi yom huledes es paroi. The Radak in Sefer HaShorashim has 2 interpretations what this means. Huledes. The second interpretation is what we always knew. That's his birthday. But the first interpretation, the Radak says, Yom Huledes es Paro, that means that's the day he had a son. When? Bayom HaShlishi. So on the 3rd day, he had his son, and therefore he had this big party. It has nothing to do with his birthday. Radak is the biggest medakdek that we have, Sefer HaShorashim, tremendous chiddush.
What 3rd day?
Vahi Bayom HaShlishi, and it was on the 3rd day, Yom Huledes es Paro, the birthday, not birthday, the festive party that he had for having a new baby boy. Rabbi said, let's move to Chanukah. Halachic Shaila. For Rabbi said, Dayani Mumchim, listen to a Maaseh. Uven lights his Chanukah candles. He puts a lot of oil in the cups. And 5 minutes later, he is about to go. He wears a beautiful new suit, and his neighbor Shimon sees him. He says, where are you going? I'm going to a wedding. Well, where's the wedding? So this was in Bet Shemesh, and he says, I'm traveling down to Beersheba. He says, oh, have a nice time. 5 minutes later, Shimon's family come out, and it's time for him to light the candles. And he says, oh, hey, I don't have any more oil. He sends his kid to the store. The store is already closed. Now Shimon comes with a question. Can I, not 5 minutes later, 45 minutes later, can I blow out the candles of my neighbor Uven, who already fulfilled the mitzvah? It's more than half an hour. Take his oil and light it. Is HaKadosh Baruch Hu going to be happy with my actions here? HaKadosh Baruch Hu going to say, I don't like it. Can I be yoytze bichlal? Can I say a bracha? Is it a mitzvah? What is it? Boisai, what do you say? No like it. Why is that?
If the first person who lit,
I'm guessing you don't like it because you saw a pasuk in Yeshaya Samech Aleph pasuk Ches, Ani Hashem soine gazel. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I hate thievery. Maybe because you saw Gemara in Sanhedrin Kuf Ches, where the Gemara says generation of the Mabul, the flood. They did everything wrong. That includes Avodah Zarah. That includes Gilui Arayos. That includes murder. V'lo nechtam gzar dinam, but the din was sealed for Ela ala gezel. Kodesh Baruch Hu hates gezel. Hates. Is that the reason you're saying no? No, you have more. Be happy to hear.
Why would that be considered gezel? He actually fulfilled...
So why are you saying no if it's not gezel? Why is it not gezel? Because I'm going into your domain, taking your property, and I'm saying, well, it's a mitzvah. Mitzvah ba'avera.
the question because
Reuven fulfilled the mitzvah. It's more than half an hour. Now I want to come, blow out his candles, take the oil because there is no cell phones, no service. I don't have oil. The store is already closed. There is no way for me to obtain oil, and I'm not going to do the mitzvah. So why can't I? Because he says no, but it's not gezel. He says it's not gezel. I don't know.
Can you say, what hana is the guy who, Reuven, whose oil it is? What hana is he getting past the mitzvah? If he's getting no hana,
I see you every single morning davening with your tefillin on. And right davening's over, you take your tefillin off. This morning I saw you keeping the tefillin for another half an hour sitting and learning. So can I come to you after Aleinu and take the tefillin off your head and your arm and say, I need it now. What hana are you getting? You did the mitzvah already? Can I take anything from you without your permission? Whether you have a hana or not? What about stealing? Stealing is dependent on hana of the owner?
he's not chassid. He's not chassid. Yes,
Chidushi.
Even if he asked him permission, could the one who lit the candle initially say, okay, I'm going to take the oil? Or
Why not?
He has to finish the mitzvah, no?
Why?
I'm asking, halachically, he said he wanted to have...
The Chazon Ish, every single day, after half an hour, blew out the candles. Chazon Ish. Chanukah, not on Purim. To be mefasem, that you only need to do it for half an hour, and there is no mitzvah after half an hour. You're allowed to do for longer. The Briskerov lived on Nevi'im Street in Yerushalayim, next to the Edison Theater, and he used to put a lot of oil, and people said, 11, 11:30, 12, 9, who's in the street? He says, the second movie starts there at 9:30 p.m. People are going to come out at 11, 11:30, they're secular, but they're going to see, Pesum Nisa. But the mitzvah per se is over after half an hour. Chazon Ish blew it out to be mefasim this din.
So that means if he had permission from the original law...
Well, of course, what's the question? No question. But the problem is he doesn't have permission. Not midin zachin, midin nicha leinish. Let's see.
Maybe it's like nevad.
Why nevad?
Because it's just going to burn up anyway. You say there's no mitzvah.
Yeah, you see that filling on your head anyway, so there's no mitzvah, I'll take it. You did the mitzvah when you davened already. Why are you keeping it on?
And if you say this, according to chassidic, you're saying that there's no mitzvah. Then.
According to Mishnah Bua. Mishnah Bua also says, there's no mitzvah after half an hour.
So it's just going to burn up.
But it's mine! Who gave you permission to take what's mine? I consider it hidur mitzvah. You're allowed to take it because you don't hold like me? So you can come into my menorah and take my oil?
If it's like a kilo of Veda, it's like if you threw something in the air and it hits it before it's the ground, it's already avoided.
So I suggest this week, Wednesday night, first night, and thereafter the whole week, I think we should go together. We're going to light Mistama 4:45, 5. We should go at 6 o'clock and just go by people and blow out all the candles. Why not? Can you light with stolen oil?
Well, not just that, he's stopping the Persum Nisa in the middle.
Why? He's exchanging his Persum to his Persum. It's going to be in him, by him. So there's no one Persum for the other. It doesn't make a difference to the people where they see the candles. Are you allowed to use Shemen Agazul to light? That's what I'm asking. Mitzvah ba be'avera. Can you use Shemen Agazul to light your menorah?
Can you make a bracha on the lulav and esrog that was stolen?
Lulav, no. Chanukah, is it the same? Is the oil for lighting the menorah the same? The Mishnah Bura has a question mark. It's called Tzarich Iyun. Tafresh Ayin Gimel, Seif Beis. The Mishnah Bura writes, Tzarich Iyun, if you're yoytze with Shemen Agazul, the suffix is, there's a concept called mitzvah ba be'avera. Does it apply also on the Rabbanon? Even if you say yes, Birkei Yosef, it applies even to a mitzvah de Rabbanon. But it could be that when you light the oil becomes asur be'ana. That's considered shinui maise. If it's shinui maise, you just acquired it to yourself. If you acquired it, there is no mitzvah ba be'avera. Mitzvah ba be'avera is when you take the lulav and you shake it immediately. The mitzvah and the avera come together. Here, it's shinui maise. It's already mine. I'm using my oil. Right, I shouldn't have done it. I have to give him back what I stole. But the shinu maise, it's called an acquisition. It's koine. That's the case. Mishnah Bura lives it with a question mark. But in our case, huh? Why? It could be that since it's asur be'ana, it is considered sufficient already to be considered shinui maise. However, in our case, lichora should be okay, 100%, maybe even lechatchila. Why? If Reuven and Shimon would come to Beis Din and say, Shimon says, no, Reuven already did the mitzvah, more than half an hour. I have zero oil. The Beis Din would obligate Reuven to give Shimon his oil. Why? Mishnah Bura and Siman Tafresh Ayin Aleph, Seikot and Vav says that if you have just enough oil for 8 days, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, every single day, adding more as we normally do, but your friend has nothing, it's better that you only light one candle every night and give your friend. What you want to do is a hidur mitzvah. But your friend has nothing. Giving him to be able to do a complete mitzvah, one candle a night, is a gminus chesed. And it's a greater mitzvah than your hidur mitzvah. And therefore, if for hidur mitzvah, which the Gemara mentions, hidur mitzvah is very important. Chazal say it's better that you do not beautify your mitzvahs in the account of your friend having nothing. How much more so to light more than half an hour? Because in Tafresh Ayin Beis, if Cotton Vada Mishnah Bura says there is no mitzvah in that. So already fulfilled the mitzvah. There is no mitzvah after half an hour. Why not? But he didn't ask permission from his friend. And we should use the concept Nicha le'inish le'isaved mitzvah be'mamoine. A person is happy when people use his assets for mitzvah. For example, you forgot your siddur in Shachis. I come to shul and I see your siddur. I'm allowed to use it. I'm going to try very hard not to rip any pages. If I use it carefully, I'm allowed in its place to use it. I'm allowed to use your talis. And the Magen Avraham in Seif Siman Yud Daled in Orach Chaim says, even if there's a small hefsed to the owner, you're allowed to. Here, there's not even a hefsed. Because the oil, like you said, will continue to burn. There is no hefsed. All you do have is a hefsed of the mitzvah. But you don't have a hefsed of the mitzvah because the Mishnah Bura told us there is no mitzvah after half an hour. So Memele, Lichoyre, it should be okay, but we should recommend to Shimon taking the oil take only one candle. You don't have to be a big tzaddik and chassid and be a count of your friend and light 8 candles tonight. 1 candle is enough, and only for half an hour. And if his shamash is still lit, use that shamash and not the nails of the mitzvah. Important to note, when it says, "Lo signoiv," don't steal. It's the Zohar. Zohar Kodesh in Parshas Yisro, Daf Tzadi Gimel. The Zohar says, how come when we read it in Shul, we read it in Tama Elyon. And in Tama Elyon, there's Tipcha, Sof Pasuk. Tipcha is a Tam Mafsik. It makes you make a pause. Instead of Lo Tignov, it's Lo, pause, Tignov. It should say, don't steal, and it says don't. Steal. Says the Zohar Kodesh, because you're allowed to be Goinev Das. You're allowed to steal the Das of your Rebbe. I said, I didn't understand. Can you repeat what you just said now? Because you want him to review it and do it again. It's going to have more chidushim. You understand it a little in a more clear way. You're allowed to say to your Rebbe, to steal his mind, to lie as if to him, Loi! But sometimes Tignov. The Zohar Kodesh says. During the mitzvah. And I'm not allowed to use it for my private use, not for I'm switching it. In your menorah, now it's going to be in my menorah, say mitzvah. And I'm for daily activities has nothing to do with the mitzvah, because it's kedusha. But I'm just taking them and putting them in a different cup, doing the same mitzvah. So that's no problem.
For the mitzvah, so you are getting credit for mitzvah for him taking it, so you are mishtavish.
Mitzvah slav lehenos nitnu. I'm not benefiting from this mitzvah. It's a Kodesh Baruch Hu told me I have to do it, I'm going to do it. But that's not considered a shimush that I'm getting benefit from. You can't start reading to the light of the candles. That's called asur lishtamish b'hem.
If of the tefillin, the guy is learning hidur mitzvah and the other guy needs it, comes and takes it, he can?
Chas v'sholom. Chas v'sholom. That's permission. Tefillin is not exact. Is that a good example? Because every single second that the tefillin is on your head, it's a mitzvah. And really, Meikar Adin, we should keep the tefillin on the entire day. And that's the Gaon Mivilna does. And his chassidim do. So I just gave it as an example to startle you a little. It takes something without permission, but it's not exact.
So in this case, so in your example, so this person who doesn't have a way with it, can he blow out the candles?
Yeah.
And then make them actually light and the same thing and make a bracha?
Sure. Why not?
If the owner had written on it, do not touch my oil, I want it to burn for 3 hours. Does it still have the right to do it or not?
Then you have a good shayla. If this would come to Beis Din, he would say to them, you have to give him. But when he clearly says, don't dare come in, you have an issue here. Mishnah Berurah writes, in Taf Reish Ayin Beis, Seif Kotan Yud Aleph, that if you come home close to Alos HaShachar this morning is around maybe 5, something like that, you come in at 4 a.m. and you realize, I still didn't light my candles. What do you do? Light the candles. What else should you do 2 seconds before that? Wake up! You have to wake up people to be able to say the bracha. That's the Mishnah Berurah says. The Egos Moshe and Rav Ozen say the Minhag Olam is not like that, and we say the bracha no matter what, even if you're by yourself. But the Mishnah Berurah says you have to wake up people. Machlokes, if you have to wake up one person or two or three, different opinions, but you have to wake up a person in order to be able to say bracha because it's not the time. If you're lighting it at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., when you're by yourself, no question you can say the bracha. That's the time. But after the time, it's close to Oz Shachar, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, says the Mishnah Berurah, you have to wake up the people. My question is...
Even if it's your father?
That's my question! You come home, person lives with his parents, and they're the only ones at home. Should he go, Daddy, up! You have to come. Mishnah Berurah says, I must wake you up! And Mommy, how come you're still sleeping? I need 2 people. I hold by the opinion they need 2. Should you wake up your parents or not? Mitzvah.
It's not done by the Metina with the key. It's for the mitzvah.
It's for my mitzvah, not for their mitzvah. What's that? Yeah. Kibud Av V'em is defined as waking or not waking your father? Really? Shulchan Aruch Yored Dea Siman Reish Mem. The definition of Kibud Av is Ma'achilo u'mashkeyu. You help your father eat or drink if he needs. Malbishoi, motzio, machniso. You help him with those things that he needs. Doesn't say anywhere that kibudav means don't wake him up. Maybe that's moirav, not kibud. It's not the positive, it's the negative. So you're saying you have a problem. But the Mishnah Berurah told you that you have to say a bracha. And we have a rule. There's arevus. Arevus means we are all guarantors towards one another to make sure that you do all the mitzvahs. And if I know that you have a mitzvah to catch and I'm not allowing you to do this, it's a problem.
You don't say the mitzvah just by lighting, without the bracha.
But I want to do a complete mitzvah. I have a mitzvah to say a bracha, which means you have to help me do that mitzvah. And if you don't, you're missing a mitzvah. That's the meaning of arevus. That means I have to make sure everybody in Klal Yisrael does the mitzvahs. And when I don't, so I am missing a mitzvah. So by waking up the parents, I'm actually helping them do a mitzvah that they're obligated in. So whom do you want to wake up? The father or the mother? Or both? Let's say I go with opinion, one person is enough. The father or the mother? Why the mother? Because she's not going to beat you up? You'll be surprised, some mothers will.
Who's not? No, that was the grandfather. The two asked for a glass of water. We have to go to the grandfather.
When both your father and your mother, if they're married, ask you to do some kind of a service, you have to prioritize your father. Because your mother is also obligated in the honor of your father. But if they're divorced, there's no difference. Here, I'm not asking both of them to do something. I have to choose one. Why should I choose the father or the mother? I'm actually going to give a mitzvah to one of them. Why should I prioritize my father over my mother? What do you say, Rabbi say? So Mezakeh who? The father or the mother?
Father.
Why the father? He already has a lot of mitzvahs, more than a woman. Why not give her one? He did already. Now it's up to you. Why don't you want to give her extra, a bonus?
Be like Hashem.
I guess you didn't like the chicken soup last night. Lichaoira, we should say, based on what the Ravid says, Baba Kama Kuf Yudzayin, the Shita Mekubetzes brings him, a person has to save his friend only when he knows that his friend is in a tzara. And he also has to use your money to do that. But as long as you don't know, there is no chiyuv. So the whole arevus that I was trying to confuse you with doesn't really kick in as long as you don't know. The parents are now sleeping. They don't have any obligation. Mimele, Rabbi Yosef answered this question with two words. Should I wake up the parents? You know what he said? Chas v'sholom! Chas v'sholom! Can't wake them up. So why did the Mishnah Berurah say that you have to wake up people, your household members, because they are mishuabet to you. They're subjected to you. They're your kids. But the parents, chas v'sholom. I think more than that, since we said before, there's a machloikes, if there's arevus and mitzvahs derabanan. We didn't say that, we said mitzvah be'avera. But there's a machloikes, the tzlach in Brachos Mem Ches Amud Beis says, there is arevus b'mitzvahs derabanan. The Bikki Yosef says no, he rejects all the ayahs of the tzlach and others. And there's a machloikes on a bracha of a mitzvah derabanan. The bracha itself is a derabanan, and a mitzvah derabanan, which the bracha is not me'akev if you didn't say it. And therefore, I think it's clear what Rabbi Yosef says, chas v'sholom, to wake up the parent.
What is the limit of this? For example, someone needs me for a mitzvah, but if I help him, I'm missing my train.
Chayecha koidmin. Chayecha koidmin.
Rabbi Gershon or Rabbi Yashiv?
Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi say, how much should you spend for a hidur mitzvah? But that's to fulfill the mitzvah esse, a positive mitzvah. The Rema says up to a choimish. Great. Esrogim now are worth 100 shekels. That's a regular esrog. There's a beautiful esrog for 120 shekels. There's one for 200 shekels. There's one for 800 shekels. How much am I supposed to pay for a hidur mitzvah, beautification of a mitzvah, not to fulfill the mitzvah itself?
That's up to you.
Up to me. What about Baba Kappa Taf Tesam Beis?
It's a hidur. That's the point.
Hidur mitzvah ad shlish. Up to a third. Machloikis in the Gemara, if the third is milebar or milegav. Milebar means from the outside, or milegav from the inside. What does that mean? Milebar, from the outside. Take the 100 shekels and cut it in two. You have two parts, 50 and 50. Do you have to bring another part like it, another 50, and now you have three parts? That's what the shlish means, which means you have to go all the way to 150 shekels. That's the machmir opinion. Milegav means take the 100 and split it to 3. That's 33.3. Take another part like that, a third, and add it. So instead of 100, you have to go up to 133 and a third. That's the lenient approach. The Gemara concludes, Teiku. Great.
Why doesn't it say like Chomesh? Because when we say Chomesh...
Chomesh is to fulfill a mitzvah. If you don't have an esrog at all, you have to spend up to 20% to fulfill the mitzvah.
The calculation of Chomesh is the markup of...
Good, same idea. Do you calculate it from the outside or from the inside? Milabar or milegav? Here the machlokes is in the Gemara itself. Baba Kama Tesamud Beis concludes with a teiko. Comes Rabbi Ben Zion Abba Shaul with a shayla. Me'ikar adin, you're yoytze with one candle, right? One candle every single night. Yet there's a track called Mehadrin, and that means every single day you add a candle. So the second day, how much did you add? 100% more. And on the fourth day,
50%.
50? Instead of one candle, I'm lighting 4. 400%. And what about the 8th day? Comes out that at the end of Chanukah, instead of lighting 8 candles, I lit 36. Minus the 8, and anyways I'm obligated. Instead of 8 candles, I beautified my mitzvah with 28 candles. What is that in percentage? Anyone? Quick math? Instead of 8 candles, I added 28 candles. 400%? But there's another track called Mehadrin. And if you're Ashkenazi, not Sephardim, all the Barabos, the owner of the house lights, Ashkenazim, he had 10 boys, they will all light. Now do the math. For each one of the boys, it's not the Hidu mitzvah candles at 28, it's the entire 36! I'm not counting the Shamish. The entire 36 candles. Can you do the math? We're talking about thousands and thousands. Where'd you get that from? What about Hidu mitzvah ad shlish? The Gemara over there says, Hidu mitzvah ad shlish, mikan va'elach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mikan va'elach mishal HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Rashi, if you will pay more, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will pay you back. Here, in this world. It's good to get more money. But where does Chazal institute for us a way that, as if, obligates us? Is there any person who doesn't do this? Anyone who lights one candle every single night? Everybody does. Ma'alin Makodesh like Beis Hillel. And all Ashkenazim have their kids light as well. Where did you get that from? Gewaltige Shaila. In order to answer, what's that?
We ready? So then above a third a person can add?
He's allowed. It's not an issue like Takanas Usha. Soon we'll see. Ksub Samach Beis, Amud Beis, and Samach Gimel Amud Aleph, we learn the famous Maaseh about Rebbe Kiva. Rebbe Kiva gets married, and he is not the greatest Talmid Chochem at the time. His father-in-law gets so upset, and he bans his daughter and his new son-in-law, Rebbe Kiva, from all his assets. He was richer than Bill Gates at the time. 24 years later, making it short because we all know the story, Rebbe Kiva comes to town. Rebbe Kiva is the Gadol Hador, but he doesn't know this is the same Akiva who was his son-in-law, the ignoramus. This is now the Gadol Hador. So he comes to him to be matir the neder because I feel so bad. My daughter, I could have supported her all these years, and I didn't. I want to give her something, poor lady. So he comes to him and says, Rebbe, I have this son-in-law. Don't ask. He says, tell me a little more about him. He said, I banned him from all my assets. The guy doesn't know. That doesn't know Mishnah. He doesn't know even Aleph Beis. So Rabbi Kiva asks him, and what if he would know one chapter by heart? One chapter? If he would know Aleph Beis, I would already give him money. He says, oh, really? Guess what? I'm that Akiva. I'm your son-in-law. He was so excited, and he gave him half of his assets. Asks the Hafla over there. The Hafla is the Rebbe of the Chassam Sofer. Whoa. How was he allowed to do this? And why didn't Rabbi Akiva stop him? Because in Ksubis Nun and other places, Chazal say, Takanas Usha. In Usha, they instituted, Hamevazbez, Al Yevazbez Yoiser Mechomesh. You don't spend more than 20% on the mitzvah. What's going on? How come you're able to give half of all your assets? And the Afla makes a remarkable calculation. Rabbi Yitzchak teaches us in Brachos Mem Beis that you should always invest. Divide your assets in 3. Shlish bakarka. What does that mean, shlish bakarka? Property, real estate. That's what we normally think. But some explain shlish bakarka, that means hide them in the karka. And some explain shlish bakarka, that's in Eretz Yisrael, invest in Eretz Yisrael. But our normal understanding is real estate. Shlish, in what? Bakmati, and business. And another third? Cash. So it comes out.
What's the definition of cash? Like
Lichoira, cash which you store in the safe. Some want to say, I saw this week, Dafka, somebody wants to say that stocks can be counted as well. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not sure about, is it only because it's accessible? You can liquidate it very easy, like you go to the bank or to your safe. Or is it also the element of there's less risk? Not risk of ganavim, risk that it will depreciate. The stock market, you don't know what's going to happen, especially if it's closed for 2, 3, 4 days on a weekend. So, I'm not sure, but cash l'choira means cash, as opposed to business, as opposed to karka. Rashi over there explains why we want cash, because if a nice, good business deal comes your way, you'll be able to spend because you have cash right now. L'choira, it's because of, you can liquidate it very easily. Says the Afla, so you have to take your money and divide it in 3. Cash is a third. It says here, he gave him palge mimamoni, he gave him half of his cash. That means he didn't give him 20% of his assets. He gave him only 1/6. A third is cash. Half of that is only 1/6. 1/6 is 18%, is less than 20%. So we don't have a problem with Kalba Savua, but maybe in a different way. Kalba Savua was very, very rich. And about a very, very rich person, this doesn't apply. Takanas Usha is for normal people. Why? Because if you're going to spend more than 20%, maybe he will become poor and he will have to go collecting. So don't give to the any more than 20%. But a person who's rich, if Bill Gates gives 98% of his assets today, is anything going to happen to him? Is he going to have to go collect? No. Not him and not his great-great-great-great-grandchildren. It's no problem. Mimele, there's a Chavos Yair that says an Ashir, a rich person, is mechuyav to give more. We force him. Avas Chesed, in Perek Chaf, brings other ways that one can spend more than 20%, and one of them is Achzakas Torah. Is there anything greater than Achzakas Torah for Rabbi Akiva to support his Torah, and therefore you can give more than Chomesh? Shevet HaLevi, he writes that in a way of tshuva and kapara, you're allowed to give more than a Chomesh. So Kabba Savua feels so terrible for what he did. He didn't give money for his daughter and son-in-law for all those years. He wants to do a kapara. You're allowed to do more than a Chomesh. But in a different way, and that's why I started this whole thing. Psachim men tes samud aleph, listen to a language of the Gemara. Le'oilam, Tanu Rabbanan, le'oilam, yimkor adam kol ma sheyesh lo. A person should sell everything he owns. Ve'yasi bito le'talmid chochim. And marry your daughter to a talmid chochim. Chazal, for some reason, didn't limit it. Only up to 20%. Why not? Because it's like acquiring an asset. Do Chazal have any problem with me going to Manhattan and buying some skyscrapers now? They don't want to go to, it's more than 20%. It's an investment. I'm entitled to invest in anything I want. I'm entitled to invest in diamonds. This is what a Talmid Chochem is much more than diamonds. Torah is much more. The Torah is more important than precious stones, than diamonds, than pearls. Nothing comes close. It comes out that Kalba Savua wasn't giving money to a mitzvah. He was investing in his future, Nachas de Kedusha. And that, what's the problem? And therefore he's allowed to give 120%. Comes Rabbi Ben Zion and Amashol and answers his own question. Since in Shabbos Chav Gimel the Gemara says, Kol haragil bener havyan al banim talmidei chachamim. If you're careful with lighting Hanukkah candles, you will have talmidei chachamim. Mimel, it's no problem to invest much more than a third to a bhidu mitzvah. Spend thousands and thousands, as we see that one who has many kids does if he's Ashkenazi, because you're investing in your own future nachas, and there's no limit to that.
So the church that he was about by Rabbi Akiva, his parents?
I saw it in a sefer, I think in Malos Rivka on the Torah. What's the source for eating sufganiyot on Chanukah? We know that every minhag in Klal Yisrael, Yesudato behar rei kodesh. There's no stam minhagim. If Klal Yisrael does something, is the source. Vayeshev Chanukah. From all the different things, there were donuts. Donuts on Chanukah. Why?
Oil.
What about? Oil. Oil. So drink a cup of oil. Mizbeach. Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says, since for eating sufganit you have to say ala michya, and you don't say benching, and in benching there's no mention of the Mizbeach. And they erect the Mizbeach, we want to mention the Mizbeach. And therefore you say ala michya, and you say al Mizbechecha. But the source, earlier source that we're familiar with for eating sufganiyot is actually the father of the Rambam, and he mentions the minhag of eating sufganin on Chanukah. That's what he writes. But why? The real answer, and the only answer is the Greeks were all about beautification of the body. They adored the human body. That's what the most important thing to them was. And they tried to influence us to think the same. So we say, really? Really? In your face. We're going to take an item full of sugar, fried in oil, laden with calories, and we're going to show you we're not about the body, we're about the spirit. That's the reason. What's that? Chanukah and Purim, Derabon, Gzera Shava. Mishnah Berurah writes in Siman Taf Reish Ayin Gimel. I saw some people are falling asleep. I had to wake him up. It works. Taf Reish Shabbos Daf Lamed. Rava started the Milsa de Bdichuta beginning of the shiur, so that means we're starting the shiur now. Taf Reish Ayin Gimel Seif Kotten Kaf Ches. The Mishnah Berurah writes that it's the right thing to do. Everybody should be matriach to get a nice Chanukiyah, the nicest that you can. Lefi koicha. The Kaf HaChaim and even others before him, Chesed La'Avraham, bring there's 15 different levels in a Hidur mitzvah of the Chanukiyah. Gold, silver, copper, 15 different levels. Does this apply to the candelabra or to the candlestick holders for Shabbos? Mishnah Berurah doesn't say that. Mishnah Berurah just says in Reish Samech Gimel Seif Aleph that you should make the candles beautiful. He doesn't speak about the holder, the candelabra. But what would be the difference?
Could we do a kal v'chomer?
What's the kal v'chomer?
In the sense that if we do for Hanukkah, that lasts only 8 days, something that we do every single week.
Good, but stronger than that. If you only can afford one candle, Shalom Bayis for Shabbos or Hanukkah, which one overrides? Shalom Bayis. Ner Shabbos Adif. So Ner Shabbos is stronger than Ner Chanukah. So if you have to do for Ner Chanukah beautiful candle, for a beautiful menorah, how much more so for Shabbos? If that's the case, how come the Mishnah Berurah didn't mention it? The answer is because in Chanukah we try to mimic the menorah in Beis Hamikdash, which was beautiful and decorated with kaftorim and prachim. We're not trying to mimic anything in Shabbos. Shabbos just for Shalom Bayis. Mimele, this will not apply on Shabbos. It only applies on Chanukah, and that's why the Mishnah Berurah didn't mention it in Hilchos Shabbos. In Al Hanisim we say Masarta Giborim biyad Chalashim, Verabim biyad Me'atim. How many? When we say many in the hands of few, how many were the few? 13 people against the entire world. So it's true. Rabim, many, the entire army in the hands of few. But what do we mean when we say Giborim in the hands of Chalashim? Giborim, the Greeks, you hand them over to the hands of those who were weak, Chalashim. But in all the Sfarim, the Chashmaim were described as mighty heroes. They were bold, they were courageous, they were strong. So why are you calling them Chalashim? Relatively speaking, you're right, because there are few, but you mentioned that already. You say, Rabim biyad me'atim, so you mentioned that. So it's not because they're few, it's because you're calling them weak. They're not.
They were learning Torah, no?
They were learning Torah, and yet, if you read the description of what they did over there, it's unbelievable. They were very strong.
Not because of Siyata D'Shmaya?
Of course, everything in this world is Siyata D'Shmaya. And why were the Greeks strong? Also because Siyata D'Shmaya.
But they had they cultured the body, the Greeks, so they worked their body.
And they also had tanks and they had F-16s. But the Chashmonaim, according to what we read, were very, very courageous and strong. They're not weak. The answer is we're not reading it right. Masarta Giborim, those who thought about themselves that they are Giborim, in the hands of those who viewed themselves as Chalashim. The Choshmonaim got up every single morning and says, who are we? What am I? What am I? All I have is a gift from Ribbon Shalom. My whole koyach, whether I have it or not, every single day anew is going to be given to me from Ribbon Shalom. And for I myself, I am weak, I have nothing. So you gave over those who are very, very strong in their own eyes, the Greeks, to those who are very, very weak in their own eyes. It doesn't change the mitzius. It's how they view themselves. And because they view themselves as weak without the help of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu delivered those who are very strong in their own eyes to the hands of those who are weak in their own eyes. And this does not change, and it is true today. When we will start viewing ourselves as very weak on our own, without Siyata Dishmaya, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will deliver to us all our enemies speedily, swiftly. We will see Yeshuas, we will see Nechamos, we will see Binyan Beis Hamidash b'meira b'yameinu, Amen ve'amen. Acheinu kol Beis Yisrael nesuni b'tzar ובשביה. העם דימם בים ובין ביבשה, המקום ירחם עליהם, ויוציאם מצר לבוך ומפלו לעיר. ושיבו לגאולה אשתו בעגולו בזמן קוריב, ונאמר אמן.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.